Sad kažem neke. Bravo. Well done. Bravo. Good job. Hey Siri, maximum lights.
Okay.
Svjetlo.
I set all of the lights to 100%.
Thank you. Ja tebe ne vidim.
Ready. Let me boost up. Say something nice.
Hey everyone.
Hey. Okay. I hear you. Looks like everybody on the stream hears you. Both of our one viewers.
Both of our one viewers. Hello, one viewer.
Hello, one viewer. So we are live on like 5 platforms at the moment. Facebook, Instagram on 2 accounts, Twitch, YouTube, and something else. I have no idea. I just let it go live on everything.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Great. So some people are waving. Oh, cool. So hi, people on Instagram. If you're looking at us live, you can connect through the profile on the or YouTube or whatever you prefer. So go live there. And I'll start off by introducing my friend here, Luka. Luka is an amazing developer. He's a CEO of Sakura Collective, right? And a chaos manager. So before I go deep into everything, can you tell people what is chaos management?
Chaos management basically means that we deal with everything that relates to software development that isn't software development directly. We do not build features. We don't put buttons on websites. We won't build your mobile app or anything like that. But what we do deal with is when things go horribly sideways, when things get so bad that a company is unable to ship a new release of their software, or when there's zero confidence that they can do so safely. That's when we jump in, and that's when we basically do salvage operations, rescue projects, and so on. And then once it's back in the green, once the project is no longer terrible, whatever it was, we hand off to a team that specializes in ongoing development.
Okay, so that kind of sounds complicated. How did you get there from I'm a developer to I don't develop anymore, I don't do buttons, I don't do apps?
By developing for a long time. I started in primary school, just like tiny things, and then in high school, I actually started making some money off it, funding my phone bill and going out and stuff. And then when I started college, I realized very quickly that wasn't for me, and I just became a full-time software developer. So this was well over 10 years ago, probably closer to 15 than 10. And then I did that for 10 years. So for 10 years, I did websites, content management systems, Windows applications. I don't think I ever did anything in mobile, but all sorts of development for all kinds of clients and companies. And then one day I realized that it just brought no more joy. It became something that it just became a way to acquire money. And there was absolutely no joy in the work that was being done.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the career, but you mentioned that you started college and you dropped out because you didn't feel it was for you. And for me, this is like a confirmation bias because I was the same. And I want you to expand a little bit more on that, and then we can rage about formal education.
Okay. It wasn't so much that I back then thought that the result wouldn't be worth it. It was just that it was so not interesting what they were trying to teach me. And I always had a problem with learning things that didn't interest me. And I always got by with the fact that I was well behaved, not the fact that I was a great student. And then that didn't work in college because they didn't care how well behaved you were. So, so I failed year one. I didn't fail on a technicality, but in principle, I failed. And then I tried to retake it while also grabbing subjects from the second year. And then my dad called me out on it and said, you're not really studying. You're enrolled, but you're not doing anything with it. And that's how I ended up on my first job, which was unpaid, which was just a replacement for military service, so civil service. And then from there, it was just, I could probably do this if I was actually paid. So then I did the same thing, but for money. And then somewhere within the first few months of being paid to come in and do some completely boring job, I realized that there was zero chance of me returning to that school. And I went back and I said, hey, could I pull my papers? I no longer wish to be enrolled in this school.
Oh, you actually pulled your papers?
I pulled my papers, yes. I showed up I tried studying for one semester, and then the second semester I pretended to be studying. And then I paid tuition for another year, and then I never showed up again. And then about 8 or 9 months after that, after I paid tuition and never showed up at the school, at any school event, I showed up. And well, what happened was here's what actually happened. Once I finished civil service, I needed my high school diploma to get a first regular job. And instead of borrowing my high school diploma and then returning it to the school, I said actually just yank the entire thing and unenroll me.
Yeah.
And then I got a whole speech about once you leave, you can't come back. And I said, I doubt I'll be coming back.
Well, okay, there's one difference between you and me. I never pulled my papers.
So
I think there's still somewhere in some drawer just collecting dust, and maybe there's like a person archives, just wondering, will this person ever come and pick them up? And I actually
that's a very similar story.
Yeah.
I have some of that as well, but I'm not willing to share.
I think, to be completely honest, when I say I paid for my second year, my parents paid for my second year, and
Oh, I actually paid for mine.
okay, I felt really guilty, and then I got my first job. That was, well, the reason that I felt like dropping out, because the guy that was doing web design workshops basically was teaching something that I knew was not being used anymore in the IT world at the moment, and then it just felt like, okay, if I know more than the teacher here, then I just better be gone and start working. So that was the reason, and got a first job with a mission to repay my parents back for college they paid for me, and I never did. But
Yeah. So similar story. I explicitly borrowed money from my mom to pay for the school for the second year.
okay,
And then I repaid her
in full
with
interest.
in full. In full. No interest, in full.
Parents zero interest fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, cool. Where did you go from there? So I know that you started your company with a designer, that you guys started working web designs.
Yeah. So in school, I guess that's one of the stories I don't want to get into. But basically, I needed a grade, and there was a guy I thought could help get a grade. And his condition was that I play basketball with them. And I did. And then at the first time we played basketball, I was like, "So what do you do?" And I said, I program websites. And he was like, "Oh, cool, I design websites." And I was like, "Oh, cool," because my websites look like shit. Because I have absolutely no artistic skill whatsoever. No.
You and 99.9 other developers on the planet.
Yeah. So we did a collaboration, and then we did another collaboration. And then I said, why don't we use a single name instead of like one and the other? And your name sounds less like someone in high school made it up, because I made mine up in high school. So we adopted his chosen brand for our common work, and that's what we did. But it was always kind of like a side hustle. It was never a full time. We were both like hunting other things. So from the civil service, I actually I did the civil service at the faculty of mechanical engineering and naval architecture, and I got a job there doing the exact same things. And after about 6 months, I was like, "This is terrible. We do almost nothing, and we're paid almost nothing. Tons of flexibility, but really, it's going nowhere." And a good friend of mine told me to apply for a job search site, because there was a thing that was supposed to happen that doesn't matter because it never happened. But I filled out a profile, and just out of pure, I don't know, curiosity, I typed in the only thing I knew how to get paid for, which was PHP. I typed in PHP into the search engine, and a few jobs came up, and I applied to all of them. Most went nowhere, and one led to a phone call from London that ended with me working for a local company, but as the only employee that is outsourced full time to a British company.
Okay, so would it be correct saying that you got your first job out of your first application as a PHP developer?
Yeah. I've been working solo until then on like tiny, not really meaningful projects. And like collaborating with my partner, but those were all pretty. I would say those were pretty like minor projects. And then yes, the first time I applied for a job after doing some sort of software development for a few years, the first time I applied for a job, it directly led to a job in software development.
Okay, so what would you say was the prior experience that you managed to come up on your own before actually applying for a job? If I was a junior or a new developer that I want a job, but I've been dabbling with this thing that I'm like discovered, and what should I do before I apply for a job? Before I can say like I'm ready to send in a resume. What do you even put on a resume with zero working experience?
I don't even remember. I would love to dig up whatever I applied with. That reading that today would be hilarious, probably, because I don't include that job on my resume today, and I don't include the job after that on my resume today. So what I put on the resume to get that job, that would be hilarious. Probably would be like maintain the website for my scuba diving club, uh, website for my high school, things like that.
Okay.
I can answer that question from a perspective of someone who has hired people.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was like applying for jobs. Also, it was a different time. What I look for is someone who has done work, preferably work that was asked for by someone else. But if you can't find work that was asked for by someone else, make it up. Find a website that you think is bad, make it better. Find an application that you think is bad, make it like, you don't have to implement the full application, but like if you're a designer, come up with improvements for the design. If you're a developer, maybe you can, I don't know, make a prototype, make a mock. But just show work that we can talk about. One of the biggest problems is not having anything to talk about with. So when you're a senior, when you're someone who's done whatever you're applying for 10 years, I can ask you, what's the most exciting thing you worked on in the last 6 months? They'll say a thing and we can have an hour-long conversation about that one thing. If you're a junior, that question doesn't have an answer. You haven't worked on exciting things yet. And you haven't worked on anything possible. And it's very difficult to have a conversation about things when you don't know about the stuff that we work on, and you've done nothing meaningful. So if you come to a job interview, the best thing you can do if you have never had a job before is say, I built this thing and nobody uses it, but here's why I think it's cool. Here's the problem I have with it. Here's the challenges. Here's how I overcame those issues. Things like that.
Okay. So, do you think that somebody who just finished like an online course or multiple online courses or whatever is ready to take a junior position when he or she can be mentored by somebody more experienced, and what would that person expect from somebody junior that junior and then
Possibly. It depends very much on the course. It depends on how much the person did. I've never gone through one of those courses, so I don't know if it's like, I don't know if they have like an easy mode or a hard mode. Like, I don't know if you can skate by answering just like basic questions, or if you can take like the full thing and build things with it while you're going through it. So
yeah.
possibly.
So sorry to interrupt you. What I've seen is basically it's end to end, and then you actually build the thing. So
Yeah. The other thing is that not all places are ready to have someone who is so junior that it's their first job. Because that person is gonna just occupy someone who can build things, someone who can contribute full time for a while.
yeah,
So you have to find a place that can sacrifice someone who's productive to make you productive. That's, that rules out a bunch of places. That rules out a bunch of, startups that are fighting to just stay alive. I've personally never been in a position where I could afford to hire someone who was completely junior. I've never had that luxury. I would love to.
okay, cool, good. Again, I was just interested. You see, my agency, we posted a job ad a couple of days ago, last week, and got over 100 applicants in the span of a couple of days, which was good. And it was basically an open ad for both developers and designers and people doing marketing and everybody else. And most people that applied were from at least, like on average, around 5 to 10 years experience. But there were a couple of people who had literally zero experience, and they said, "Oh, I'm taking this course, I'm learning this, I'm reading that," but basically have zero experience, and some of them have not even completed the course, and they have put it on the resume saying, "Oh, I'm working on this, and I want to work." So I don't know how to take that as a positive trait of somebody like who really wants to learn and has an appetite and wants to work, or somebody who's just jumping the gun and not basically taking all the necessary pre-steps before they
I don't know. It's a difficult question. Hiring is very, very difficult. And you're either going for a perfect score, which means that you're ruling out a bunch of people who might work out because you're not 100% sure, or you end up hiring a bunch of people who are just wrong for that position, for your company, for whatever reason, and then you have to figure out how to either make them work within the system or to get rid of them.
Would
And
you ever
I'm yet to find a place that has that figured out properly.
would you ever consider like mentoring someone? Like what would
Yeah,
yeah, like
it would take. I don't know if I would. It's a matter of free time, and I don't have that much of it. So I doubt I would take on someone who was junior, personally. I don't think that I could commit to, because being junior is not just I don't know that many things. Being junior is I get stuck and I don't know how to get out of it. Truly junior people need supervision because they will end up wasting a bunch of time on a trivial thing. And the waste of time isn't that big of a problem, but they get demoralized. They lose interest because it's frustrating. So I think junior people need a full-time mentor, at least in the early days. But yeah, I would totally mentor people who have built things. Um,
get them on the
I
next level type of thing?
Sorry?
Like to get them on the next level type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I love sharing knowledge, but we need to be speaking the same language. Um, and then, yes, by all means, I enjoy doing workshops. I enjoy speaking about discussing things that people where I say something and they go, I don't understand, and then we can sit down and have a half-hour conversation or an hour-long conversation about something. And I've been approached, and I have helped out people, but it was always people who were already professional developers at some level, and then we would sit down and
Yeah. Okay. So to step away from the hiring thing, like this is a bit of a question that I already know the answers because I know you and we do travel a lot. But you posted a couple of days ago that you travel a lot, and for people watching Luka and me, we've been together in the last couple of months on a couple of conferences.
Yep.
So I know that Luka travels, but when you started working remotely and started working with your international clients, did you assume that you're going to travel? And at what point did you say, "Oh, I want to make travel part of my like work lifestyle"? Was that a decision, or did it kind of happen?
I would say it first happened and then it was a decision.
Okay.
Definitely. So the job with the British company, that didn't involve that much traveling because they weren't in one place. I don't think I ever traveled officially for that job. I was just sitting in Zagreb and doing the work. And then after that, well, not immediately after that, but like after that, the first meaningful job after that job was with DeviantArt, and they were a company that was like half remote, but the development team was fully remote, where actually no two developers were in the same city. And they would get everyone together for the Christmas party, for the week of the Christmas party in the office in LA. And separately from that, they would get all of the engineering and product and design together for an offsite during the summer months, so July. And that was my first introduction to just transatlantic travel to the US. And then after that, regular travel. So I knew that in December I would be in LA, and in July I would be somewhere on the planet for the offsite. After that, I co-founded Hitlist, which was a travel tech startup. So it kind of implied travel, and we did slightly more than that, but not as crazy as it is today. Then I joined Noom, which had you come in like once a quarter to New York, So that wasn't that diverse with like destinations, but it was a regular travel schedule. And now it seems like I'll be at a conference in a different country every month this year. So from January to August to July, I will be in a different city or in a different country at least once a month for conferences, and also there's work. Um, so I don't know where I decided that this was something that I enjoyed doing, but I clearly did because now I'm actively pursuing it.
Yeah, yeah. So when I heard in like last span of last year, I traveled a lot in 2019, and there were people that said like, "Oh, you get to travel a lot." Well,
Mhm.
hope to fucking you, it's good. But what would be your kind of what's the biggest downside of a lot of travel? Like something that you didn't perceive until you actually started doing it. Like what do people don't see until they actually start traveling a lot, from your perspective?
From my perspective, well, you have the simplest answer, which is like family clearly suffers if you're on the road a week a month, like a week every month. But more than that, more directly, something that affects everyone, I guess, is well, something that might affect everyone. But my experience is heavy travel brings health issues. Just
Like
like
what?
if I connect two conferences in two different countries, I can expect to come back with a cough and stuff like that. Um, and just balancing work with travel is difficult.
Okay.
Um, you know, I don't. I have the ability and the luxury of working from anywhere, but that doesn't mean I can be fully productive from anywhere. If I'm hopping around a completely new city, if my schedule is full, just because I have my laptop and my tablet and my backpack, and I'm able to jump on issues, able to respond to incidents, that doesn't mean I'm going to get anywhere near as much done as if I was sitting at home with nothing on my plate, just work.
Yeah.
So that I think people might underestimate just how difficult it is to achieve productivity when you're away from your setup, when you're away from your workstation, from your from your favorite chair and your favorite coffee machine and stuff like that.
Yeah, coffee machine is important.
I was in London 3 weeks ago, and they had an espresso machine in the room. I managed to get work done. I was in a hotel just last few days. Didn't have any sort of coffee in the room. Productivity was zero.
Okay.
Small sample, but
So the coffee machine in the room makes all the difference.
yeah, yeah. For me,
Yeah. Well,
I
when
mean,
when you're yeah. No, when you're converting coffee to code, I said when you're converting coffee to code, it's important. But sorry, I interrupted
yeah,
you. What it was?
yeah. No, I'm being slightly cheeky, but it is it points to unexpected things affecting productivity. I wouldn't, if I asked you, you would not think to say, yeah, if I have to pull an all-nighter, it's useful to be able to produce coffee in the room. Just be, um, you don't notice that that's an important part of your routine when you're at home because the coffee maker is right behind you.
Yeah. Well, pouring coffee, like I'm drinking it right now. So, but importance of coffee, having it in your hotel room when you're a dumbass like me that is making his presentation on the night of a conference while you're in your room at 4 a.m. Yeah, coffee is important, but
Yeah.
so okay, let's talk about this. So since we are talking about travel and conferences, when I did one of my first keynotes a couple of years back, it was what it was. I think it was a WordPress conference in Croatia, I'm not sure. And there was a guy who with actually speaking. So what would be what do you think would be like a regular path that somebody could take from a developer's perspective of becoming a good speaker? I know that there's like a stereotype of all the developers being introverts, which I don't buy it. But yes, they are on general, but in a like a bigger part than if you go to a party. But I wouldn't say all developers are introverts. So I know that there are steps you can take to become a good speaker. So like, what would be your advice for somebody who wants to start speaking? I heard a lot of people saying, I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah. Well, one thing is applying to conferences when you don't have any sort of speaking experience is going to be very rough.
Yeah.
Because conference organizers are trying to put on a good show, and they almost always have a choice.
Of course.
You rarely, if you're aiming for 12 talks, you're very rarely going to have 12 submissions and you go, all right, everyone who applied is in. What's going to happen is you're going to have 30, 40, 50 submissions, and they will look at the speaking history. If I was organizing a conference, if I was the sole person responsible for the content of the conference, conferences are something that people commit a day to. They are things that people travel for. They're things that people take time off work or time away from families for. You want them to feel that it was worth it. And there's very few things worse than sitting in the middle of an audience when a speaker doesn't know what they're talking about, has terrible stage fright, has poor presentation skills, there's a huge language barrier, you can't even understand what they're saying, and so on and so on and so on. So to remove the risk for conference organizers, go to places that don't get to pick. There are meetups. There are, even at conferences, there's a thing called, what do you call them? Lightning talks, where you just do a 5-minute presentation, a 10-minute presentation. And those are decided on the spot. Most of the time, you just apply and they let you. There's no formal schedule and there's no formal selection. Meetups are even better because they happen so often and people rarely travel for them. So the selection of available speakers is much lower. And meetup organizers are always hungry for speakers. So start there. It's going to be a 5, 10, 20 person crowd. So the stage fright is going to be as bad. Maybe even you can present in your native language instead of English if you're still like figuring out your English skills, stuff like that. And then just do that. Just find the smallest possible topic that you think you know something about and try and present that. And people will either show up and listen to you or they won't. But my very, very, very first talk ever was at a Microsoft-sponsored web developers user group in Croatia. It was in Croatian, and I talked about the latest release of jQuery and just like the news. I read the changelog, the release notes for jQuery 1.4 or whatever it was, and I did a 10-minute, here's what's new. That was my first talk, and then within 2 or 3 months, I spoke at a conference in Slovenia, so a different country, spoke in English, my very first talk in English, and I talked about the state of mobile development or something like that. And there's a recording of it. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's cringy. It's cringeworthy to watch. But it happened, and at the time, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't, I didn't bomb. I delivered the talk. There were questions. People liked it. And that led me to apply to an actual commercial conference, well, a community conference, but one that charges admission in Italy. And again, I spoke there, and it was, there's a recording of that as well. My voice is trembling, it's shaking. You can hear my nerves.
Is it live? The recording?
Sorry?
Is the recording live?
Yeah, there's a recording from me in PHP Day Verona 20 12, 13, something like that.
I need to Google that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's linked from, I think it's linked from my resume. I have a full history of my public speaking in my resume, and I think I link directly to the video. If I don't, it's not difficult to find on YouTube or whatever.
So you can actually watch your progress and how you evolve as a speaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that is the reason why I don't even try to take it down, even though it's completely outdated and it kind of paints a bad, like if that's your first exposure to me as a speaker, you're less likely to invite me to speak at your conference. But I like it because I was a nervous wreck. I was trying to talk about performance and scaling of PHP applications. And front row, like the very first row of the audience, there's a guy from Facebook performance team and a guy from Etsy performance team.
Okay.
And those things were orders of magnitude bigger than anything anyone ever let me touch. And I was trying to put on a brave face, but those people like individually knew 100 times more than I did. But I did my talk, and I had friends in the audience who gave me like a thumbs up in the middle of the talk. I saw them. I took a sip of water from the bottle, and I calmed my nerves, and it was fine. And to this day, I still get stage fright when I go on and there's a big audience. It's still there, but I know that I got better, so it's easier to defeat, but it's still there.
I don't know who said this. Some comedian, not sure who it was, but like when the stage fright is gone, then you're fucked. So yeah. I listened recently to Henry Rollins talking about Ozzy Osbourne going on stage in front of sold out Wembley Arena, and he's still afraid that nobody showed up. So he's like the Prince of Darkness still has this fright that nobody bought tickets for his fucking concert. So that was like, okay.
I don't think I don't think you should get rid of it. I think it's a reality check that they're only there if you make it worth their while, and I don't wish it completely gone. I only wish to get a better handle on it. And the last year, so I took a break from public speaking. I think there was a year when I didn't do a single talk, a single meetup or something like that.
Okay.
And then last year, in the second half of the year, I started going. I decided that I had to. Well, I think 2018 was when I said, okay, I need to get back into it. And then in 2019, I just did a bunch of talks anywhere that would accept, primarily to get to the point where I can now get on the stages that I truly am honored to be invited to, and not below it. I'm not going to say that I can now hop on a stage that has 1,000 people in the audience and be like, hey, what's up? But I know that from experience, I'm probably going to do a good job, and that helps me get into the groove of actually delivering the talk instead of being in my own head about, what if they know this better than I do? What if they don't like it?
Well, there's always somebody in the audience, I learned, that knows more than I do, but that's rarely the majority. So that's not a problem. But from perspective of, like, this is what happened to me when doing stand-up. But from my perspective, every time I do a show, I suck. And so it's been, from my perspective, it's 14 years of constantly sucking. It did get objectively better, but I try to do better and better every time I do it. So
you get better at sucking.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So I suck a little bit better every time. But the thing is, when I listen to, I do an audio, like I put my phone on stage every time I do a show. And I remember doing one show in this venue. It was around 500 people, and we killed the show. It was a really good show. And 4 months later, we are doing the same show in a different town, same venue type, a lot of people, and I say to myself, I'm going to listen to the recording just to remember how I did it well, because I know it was amazing. We killed it. It was like, the best show ever, and I start to listening the recording, and it's so cringy, and I think like, what the fuck are you saying, man? Why are you so bad and awful? So in 4 months of 2, 3, 4 shows per week, and made such a tremendous progress. That's something that I thought of as amazing 4 months ago is now already like garbage. So from that perspective, I don't think you can really bomb in a place that you are now, but like you can deliver it in a way that you're not happy with it, and then
Oh yeah. I had talks within the last 6 months where I got off stage and I was like, I want to forget this happened. But also, I wanna watch the recording at some point when it comes out and figure out what made it so terrible.
and then you have somebody in the audience and they say it was great, and then you think, no, it was really bad, it sucked.
Yeah,
Because you know it.
yeah. I know that I can do better. So just because it was good for them, I know that I can do better, and I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't.
Yeah, like doing refunds and apologizing individually.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, okay. Moving on. Sorry. I have a list of things that I want to discuss. Maybe you have a topic in mind, or should I go further, or you have something
No,
that you want to
let's go.
expand on?
This is great.
Okay, cool. So, returning to when you transitioned from your job at DeviantArt, where you were a remote developer working from home for this Silicon Valley company that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, what was the trigger that you said, okay, now I'm not in a place where I'm happy and I think I can do better? And, like, what were the downsides of the position you were in? And what did you want to improve?
Yeah, that's very simple. The company ran out of money.
Okay.
The company ran out of money and suspended all fun. And what we did for about 6 months nonstop was chase the money. And when you're in that position, you already have 100 employees or something like that. It boils down to just like squeezing a rock for a cent. And I spent about 6 months not really building anything that anyone saw. I built. So what we were trying to do, we were trying to optimize the analytics to understand what the users were doing, and how to make money from the users that were visiting the site, because there was millions of people were looking at the site, but we just weren't making money off of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we started cramming all of this data into Google Analytics. And at some point, Google Analytics starts sampling your data. They go like, no, you're putting in too much data. We're going to start like doing a sample, and then you lose the resolution. And what we did is we started building cheats for that. We started building ways to cram more and more data into Google Analytics without triggering the sampling. But in the process, we completely destroyed the reports that Google Analytics was giving us. So instead, we had to again write software to pull data from Google Analytics to present in a human-readable way. And we did that for 6 months. And after 6 months, I just couldn't take it anymore, because I didn't feel like we were making any sort of progress. Like, the company wasn't recovering financially. It's not like we were saving the day. And it was just a soul-sucking task with no end in sight.
Okay.
That's basically what it was.
Okay, let's then hop on to the next transition from Hitlist to Noom, where you were a co-founder and.
What do you mean, from DeviantArt to Hitlist?
No. So you were at Hitlist, and so you went away from DeviantArt because you were satisfied.
Yeah.
You went to Hitlist.
Yeah.
And then I want to continue on the topic of moving away from current position to another one. So what was the trigger from moving away from a position where you were a co-founder, had a stake in the company, and like you deciding to, I'm going to move away from this to something different?
Yeah. That's a more difficult one, because there was a lot more at stake and I was a lot more invested. But I think it boils down to losing faith in what you're doing, losing faith in the impact of it, and the meaning, the meaning of it. I had no aspirations to be a startup co-founder. I had no aspirations to be what I ended up being. It was kind of just, it was an opportunity and I took it, but it wasn't the fulfillment of my dreams. So I approached it with some restrictions. I approach it as, okay, I'm not going to be doing this forever. I'm not going to be like a, startup co-founder that can't pay rent. I was making a salary before that, and I was going to make a salary. So I approach it as like, okay, how long do you need to, how long do we need to get this off the ground? How long do we need to make this not an idea but a company? And a few people creating an application is not really a company. A company makes money. And the answer that I got was, within a year, we're going to be, here, you're going to have this, and so on and so on. And after 2 years, not only was I not there, I was right where I started, and it wasn't anywhere in sight. I wanted specific things from that place. I wanted a team to lead. I wanted impact on the product, and so on, and it just wasn't happening. So, and again, I had no faith that it would. That was the biggest problem. Not that something that I was promised wasn't happening. It's just that I didn't see the path that would lead to it happening. And yeah, I just started feeling like maybe I should look around, and then just pure chance that someone from Noom posted an ad, and I applied. Yeah.
Okay, and so okay, you applied for this company, and I know a story of you leaving and then coming back. And what's the story behind it? If you want to share, if not, we can go.
Yeah, I can share. So again, I lost faith. As all of these things go, companies go through periods of downsizing because they made a bet that didn't pan out. And when those things happen, you're either in the section of people who get laid off because someone decided that the company would be better off. Well, someone decided that you're part of the people that have to leave. But there's the other side of being the people who stay, and that's, I don't want to compare, but that's also a bad position. That's also a shitty position. And again, no fun, no money, no fun, no challenging projects. Just keep the lights on. And I guess I left simply for that. There was no, yeah, it was basically that. And it was also a combination of what was being offered, and what was being offered was a chance to lead a team of remote people in a company that isn't used to working with remote people. So I would be the liaison for an established remote team that was doing good work, just had trouble communicating due to the time difference and things like that. And I was already used to working New York hours, so I had no problem picking up a European hours conversation and then a New York hours conversation and being the go-between.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, so you were building a remote team, and I know that you're a strong advocate of remote work and working, traveling, all that jazz. So, what is the biggest hurdle that you need to kind of go over once you start building a remote team? Like, how do you say, okay, now we are going remote as a team when you have a lot of people that don't have remote experience? Are you hiring exclusively people who have remote experience, or you kind of mentor the people that don't?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, because it's not the first decision you make. And what you end up with is a result of other decisions. I've certainly never gone like, okay, we're going to build a thing and it's going to be all remote people. Start off with like, where is it based? What kind of people do we need? Can we get those people on site? Can we get better people remote? Can we get cheaper people remote? Can we get better and cheaper people remote? Things that, and the thing that I always like say is, you don't have to start building a remote team, but if you're, we live in an age where all of the work is on a computer for us. And if your people can't take a day and stay at home and still do something, still be productive instead of being able to watch, then I would say the process is flawed. So I'm initially not, the thing that I'm most for is making sure that the processes are such that people could come home for a day without it being like a right or something that people do every week or every other day, just the fact that they could. Because as soon as you do that, you start having, people who just need, they had a flood and they have some repair people coming around to fix the flooding and replace whatever. And they're gonna have to be at home because those people never show up on time.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a whole day wasted with them twiddling their thumbs at home. Instead, the day before, you take your laptop home with you and you work from home. And maybe it's not the most productive day you've ever had, but it's not a complete wash either. And it would have happened anyway. So, and then, someone sprains an ankle or, and then you get to the bigger things like there's a blizzard, there's a hurricane, there's a flood, and people are prevented. There's a terrorist attack. There's a strike of public transit workers.
Yeah. Well, I just say like life happens, right?
Where people are unable to, either individually or as a group, unable to come into the office, and you just decide whether you want that to be a complete, write-off, or if we're going to try and get something done. Yeah. And then you get to decide whether you want to hire actual remote people. You can't hire remote people if nobody in your office can just work from home for a day. That doesn't make sense. And the best way to start thinking about hiring remote people is to say, you take Monday, you work from home. You take Tuesday, you work from home. You take Wednesday, you work from home. And then the next week, you send 2 of them to different locations. And they will flush out all of the issues with your process, like all of the, hey, I can't connect to this thing. I can't connect. Where are those documents? Oh, they're only available in the office. Whereas the, people who work with mobile development have huge arrays of test devices in the office, and when you're at home, you just have yours. Stuff like that. And then only when you're in a place where any person on your team can decide to work from home for a day or 2 or a week, can you start to think about hiring remote people. And then you have the question of whether it's a hybrid remote team, whether it's, some people are on site, some people are remote, or if it's a fully remote. There are some marvelous fully remote companies. There are companies that do fully remote development, and there are companies that are just completely remote.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of felt in one of the companies that I worked with for a short while, there was like life happens kind of situation. It's just like you described. Doesn't matter what it was. And for me, it kind of always felt wrong that I need to like ask a permission to do life, right? It just kind of felt wrong. And when I moved to London, I wanted to find like a real job to see if I can really do it. And I did it for, 4 months, and then I was done because like I never asked permission to take a piss when I was in grade school, and I will for sure not ask a permission to stay at home and work from home when I need to get stuff done. It just kind of boggles my mind. Some people do operate in that way in 2020,
My greatest revelation was at one of the companies that I worked at was when you'd constantly hear these jabs at people who work from home. It was like, you hear things like, oh, but how do we know that you're actually working, and how do we know that you're being as productive as you can be, and that you're not, and there's like all of these silly little arguments. And then the person who was quite vocal about their dislike for people working remotely or working from home for a day or 2 sent an email saying, I'm underwater, there's a huge project due, I'll be working from home, just be head down, don't interrupt me. It's like, so when your job isn't monitoring other people, it's producing things, then it makes sense to stay at home, because the people who monitor are the people who are the who produce the interruptions. So that was the point where I realized, like, I am not wrong for saying this is a good idea. Obviously, not for everyone, not for every kind of work, not for every kind of company, and so on and so on. But you can't just rule it out completely as developers are spoiled or whatever, and that's how they like it.
Yeah, well, blanket statements don't work ever. So yeah. Well, anyway, just let's sorry. Do you hear me okay? Because I got a message now that my mic is crackling.
I hear you perfectly here.
Okay, I don't know. I'll need to fix that on the next stream. I don't know what's going on. But okay, so a couple more questions and then I'll let you go. We've been at this for over an hour now. So, do you read books?
No.
No. I know, but I just wanted you to say it out loud. Why?
I don't have time. There is no moment in my day when I am not doing something.
Okay.
I'm constantly either trying to work or trying to get somewhere to do something there, or doing something somewhere. Like, I'm in the store trying to buy groceries, or I'm trying to make lunch, or I'm trying to go to a meetup, or attending a meetup, or I'm traveling, and there's very few times when I'm just sitting, when I have time to just sit and not do anything. And for me, I used to love reading novels, but I can't remember the last time I picked some up. I do a lot of reading of technical stuff and like the news and stuff, but I can't remember the last time I picked up a book, be it an ebook or a Dead Tree edition.
So how do you do like personal development then? Like, what would be your, I don't know, approach to getting better as a whatever?
I have role models that I met in real life, and I talk to them. I see people who are doing things that I would like to be doing on a level that I would like to be doing, and I approach them, and there's a story that I will mention that, and the person shall remain nameless, but there was an event, in Zagreb that I attended that happens every couple months, maybe once a year, I don't know. It's a big name event, and I went there knowing that it would be networking. There are talks there are sessions there, but I knew that I would probably not make it into the big hall. Instead, it was just like meeting people and a bunch of the industry folks and the regulars. And then it was time for a lunch break, and a buddy of mine and I went to a burger place that was nearby. And we ran into someone who is semi-famous, but they are semi-famous for a completely different thing outside of IT. Just, I'm being purposefully vague here, but basically, I sat down. I was waiting for my friend. We were going to meet there. I was waiting for my friend, and this person recognized me. I recognized them, and we started chatting. And I discovered a whole side to them that was closer to what I was doing than what they are known for. And it was they were there with their kid, and I appreciated the conversation so much that either that evening or the next day, I sent out a direct, like an email, just a cold email to that person saying, "Hey, truly enjoyed the conversation that happened randomly yesterday. I would love to continue that conversation. Can I buy you lunch?" And we did that. And then I did once or twice more. I reached out for advice around certain things. And that was, that's how I do, because I recognized someone who was better at things than I am, at certain things that I noticed. And I reached out and I said, I would like to learn more. I'm not looking for a job. I'm not looking for I'm not looking to use your network or anything like that. I'm trying to learn from you. And
So
we did.
you basically ask somebody to be your mentor.
Mentor to me implies like a longer relationship that is of that nature. This was just like a few random conversations over 3 years.
Would you do something like this for somebody else? If somebody approached you on the same level?
I do that for people.
Yeah. Like, hey, I want to grab lunch with you and pick your brain and whatever.
Yeah, I've done that before, and I would do that. Obviously, if it turns into like if it turns into 2 a week, then probably I would have to start being picky. But if someone just cold reaches out and says, "Hey, I saw you at X," or "I read what you wrote about something else," and would love to pick your brain about it, I would totally take them up on it, and just doesn't have to be lunch. Just we can grab drinks and we can talk about whatever. I might not take like if I don't feel like the person is actually hearing what I'm saying, then I might not take a second invite from that same person. But I can't remember the last time I flat out declined someone I didn't know. I would sooner decline an invite from people I do know.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I'm just running out of time on Instagram Live, so let me just close the live feeds on Instagram. Thank you, everybody who joined in online. So you're waving them, but they do not see you because it's only selfie camera. But I will think of something for the next time. So bye, everybody on Instagram.
Bye.
And now we had 59 viewers total on one and missed the other one. But let's say we had around 70-ish. So that's not bad for Instagram. Okay. Yeah. So what would be like your like entry bar for somebody, asking you, hey, like who would you say no to? And at some point, if at some point like 100 people start asking you, you will need to either clone yourself or better manage your time. But
I would honestly probably throw a workshop or like a round table. Just
okay.
like, hey, let's find these people want to talk about the same thing. Let's find a place and talk about the thing. What would it take for me to say no to someone I don't know? I don't know if they're trying to talk about things I don't want to talk about. I get approached often by people who don't understand that between where they are and where I am, there are steps that have to be taken, and you can't just jump to where I am. You can't just say, I want to do what you do and I want to do it tomorrow. And people who just don't respect the process of getting somewhere and just want a shortcut. I'm happy to tell you what I know, but if you walk into a car mechanic's a garage and ask which tools they use, you're not going to become a car mechanic. So if
of course.
approach me and ask about like, which software do I use or which gear I use, things like that, things where I feel like they're completely missing the point, I will probably not spend. But people who are complete noobs have reached out to me, and I've given them my most honest and most useful advice that I can think of. And I have no problem doing that. Sometimes it'll be like over messages, sometimes it'll be someone local who has. So I will probably not take a face-to-face for someone who just like wants to chat and has no idea what they want to chat about. But if it looks like there's somewhat, if it looks like if I think that I can help them, but also it needs some investment from their side that I know that it won't be a complete waste of both our times. I'm volunteering my time, but I want to know that it's not going to be a waste.
Of course. Yeah, I think I had a revelation when I was in the same position where I know this guy that will remain nameless for now, but where I was kind of, how much does he charge? And then he told me, and I was like, okay, how can I charge the same amount that he charges? Why does he charge so much? Blah, blah, blah. I wanted to be same place where he is, and he basically told me that it will, yeah, and he told me that it will take X amount of time and years and whatever, and I kind of tried to skip over the experience, and while I was trying to skip over the experience, time passed, and I arrived at the same point. So, and then like in the hindsight, I was like, now I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Matrix scene. Like everybody falls the first time. You have to work towards it. You can't just there's nothing that they can tell you that or that you can tell someone to skip levels. You can accelerate. So it took me. I made first real money for a project that wasn't like fixing someone's computer, but like for software development. Age 14, so 20 years ago. If someone asked me what would it take to get to where you are, the answer isn't 20 years. It's probably not even 10. Probably not even 10. Because it's more approachable, because there's the internet now. When I started, there literally was not in the way that it is, in the way that it exists today. So yeah, that you can accelerate it. I can help someone get there faster, but there's no cheat codes for jumping levels. You can't level up on cheat codes. You can level up faster.
So everything that we discussed kind of sounds that you basically don't have free time, and I know that you do. So do you schedule your free time, or it kind of happens, or you work around it, or how do you approach having time for yourself?
I definitely schedule free time. First of all, doesn't exist. I schedule social stuff on the same calendar as I schedule work meetings.
Mm-hmm. But okay, building Legos and going to movies and stuff like that. Like, do you plan it out?
That's on the calendar, for sure.
Everything's on the calendar.
Anything that involves other people and anything that involves just me is whenever I can find time for it. But anything that involves one other person is on the calendar.
Yeah, of course. That's smart. Cool. Do you have anything that you want to add before we wrap up? Do you feel that I kind of...
Awesome, but I didn't. I told you to prepare, and then I didn't at all. So no.
Okay, before we leave, you returned from Bosnia today, from Sarajevo. How was it?
It was great. It was unfortunately I had work. I didn't plan ahead enough to clear out work, so I didn't get to roam around the city as much as I hoped. But everything that I did see was awesome. The people are great. The food is great. The meetup that I spoke at was really cool. The other speaker was from Oslo.
Okay. What was the meetup thing? What was the topic?
Just an AWS user group, and that was the topic of both talks of mine and the other one.
So you did two talks.
Sorry?
You did two on the same day, on the same place, no?
No. There was another speaker.
Oh, okay. So it was your first time in Sarajevo?
It was my first time in Sarajevo. Definitely will not be the last.
Okay. How about next time we go together?
Sounds
and
like
I take you to the most hidden, convoluted coffee place in Sarajevo.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, we can gain both like 5 pounds in 2 days there. That's not a problem.
Deal.
Good. Thank you for your time. This was great. I hope people that watched it learned something or not, or I will go through the social field to see what happened during our talk, and I have like already a ton of notifications. Everybody is raging about my microphone being bad. I don't know why. I think you're on the speaker that I left on because I wanted the people on Instagram to pick up whatever you're saying because they don't see you. And I think my mic was picking up this, whatever you were saying. So that could be an issue that I will need to work around next time. But yeah, I think it went well for the first stream.
Yeah, I think it was great.
Yeah, let's see where it takes us. Maybe, well, let's do 100 episodes together again. How about that? Deal?
Sold.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will speak to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoy the podcast that I shared with Luka today. He was awesome, and hopefully I will see you again next Wednesday, same time, same place.